Start streaming. We're going to do the quick version of this. Go live.
Step into the paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler, brought to you by Paranormal Inc., right here on WLFE DB Radio.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Step in the Paranormal, episode 21. My apologies for being late. We were actually broadcasting already. Turns out Facebook added an extra button that said go live after the go live, and I didn't realize it was going. So we were just sitting there talking with amongst ourselves. So I apologize for that. So welcome to episode 21.
Special Saturday night episode.
Yeah, brother.
Before we get, we already have our guest on the line. Before we get started, Dave and I want to wish a very special happy birthday
to Miss Psychic Cindy.
Happy birthday,
Love
Cindy,
you, baby.
from WLFE DB Radio. She was on a few months ago. Hope you're having a super day.
Awesome.
She's up there in New York State with Ted.
Yep.
Also co-host of Paratalk Radio. And without further ado, we're going to bring in our special guest for this special Saturday night episode, Miss Tory Smith from the Paranormal Help Desk. How you doing, Tory?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
Good. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and exactly what you do.
Well, I am Tory Smith. I am the founder of the Paranormal Help Desk. What we do is we find paranormal teams to investigate the homes of people experiencing hauntings. I do it worldwide, and I do it free of charge. Basically, somebody contacts the help desk with an issue, and basically we go through their story, and I ask tons of questions, trying to get a feel for, what's going on in their home and how I can help them best. After that, I post what I call an all-call on the Paranormal Help Desk, and hopefully somebody will take a swing at that and snatch it up. Sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Right, right.
In the off chance that it doesn't, I usually do it the old-fashioned way, and that's by Google.
Right. How long's the help desk been up and running?
I have had the help desk for probably about 10 years, give or take. I don't know the exact date that I started it. But I'm also, I work with Ghost Tech and Shadow Encounters on the Paranormal United Network. We run that group together.
Right.
And basically it's just all about para-unity, basically.
Right.
Which is what I do when I don't have any cases. I like to share everything paranormal from Patreon pages, blogs, YouTube channels.
Right.
You name it, events.
What
really anything paranormal.
Tori, if you don't if you don't mind me asking, what made you think of this idea to start the help desk? Was it something personal that happened, or you were just interested in it, or how did it all come to be?
Well, it actually came to be because of a personal experience. I grew up in a haunted house. I saw my first ghost at about 5 years old.
Wow.
I remember the first ghost that I saw in this house, because I lived in this house from like age 5 to 16, right around in there. I remember here's one of the first interactions that I had was I was probably around 5 or 6 years old, and I remember like hearing a lot of things in the house. You'd hear lots of bumps and movement and shuffling and that kind of thing. And I remember laying under my bed, and I was looking out my bedroom door that was open, and then there was a light on that was basically across the hall. I know it's kind of hard to picture, but there was basically light that was cast into the bedroom that I was in. And you could see a shadow moving back and forth across the floor in the shape of a person, but there was no person going back and forth across the door.
Wow.
About 10 years old, I saw, this is what I call a legit shadow person. Probably the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life, even up until now. There, in our house, there was a room that we called our great room. And in what we used to call our living room, I was going through to the kitchen, and I looked to my left in the great room, and there was a shadow person there. And, you know, like when men, when they get upset and they're going to fight each other or whatever, and they have their elbows puffed out and their shoulders are broad, and it's just a very aggressive posture. It was standing there like that, and it was so black you couldn't see through it. It legit looked like somebody took a cookie cutter in the shape of a human being in that posture and just stamped it out as a landscape.
And I have to tell you, I agree. Seeing a shadow person or shadow figure, whatever, you know, we capture quite a few shadows on, you know, still pictures. Okay, for years, you know, you occasionally catch a shadow figure or shadow person, but when you actually see one with your own eyes in person, and it's the shape of a human, I mean that is kind of terrifying because, you know, I've seen so many different types of shadows. Like, you know, for example, at the Haldeman Mansion one night, we chased one up around the steps into the attic, and it was kind of like horizontal, like a blob. But when you actually see one in the shape of a human standing there, I mean, I can totally agree with you, Tory. Because I actually saw last time I saw a shadow person was at the Lookout House, at Pam and Steve Barry's place in Gettysburg, and I was just sitting and talking to someone, and I happened to look out toward the hallway, and I say it was about 8 feet tall, and it just walked right by the threshold of the door down the hallway. And I mean, it's amazing because it kind of like takes its own personality, so to speak, because normally when you see a shadow, it's accompanied by a human. You know what I mean? But when you see that, and then just a few weeks ago, we were there with Jeff Leeper, a friend of ours. He's probably been on every paranormal show known to man. And we were doing some EVP work in the bedroom, or one of the bedrooms. And Jeff looked at me and said, "Who's in the hallway?" And I was like, nobody that I know of. And he goes,
yeah, they both went running out.
Yeah, he goes, because somebody just walked by. And it was the same exact, you know, but that shadow is like 8 feet tall. And that's terrifying. You know what I mean?
Well,
that is terrifying.
I was at a Haldeman Mansion, and I'm sitting up for one of our events, putting a projector up. Now, Laura's dog is in there with me, and all of a sudden her dog just starts barking in a window that's leading towards the grand stairway.
Right.
And I'm ignoring the dog. I'm trying to get everything hooked up technically and make sure it's all working. And I kept going, you know, "Jojo, shut up. Jojo, shut up." I finally looked up and looked out of the window at the grand stairway coming up, and you could see whatever this was just going up and around. And as soon as it went around out of sight, he turned around and looked at me like, "I was trying to tell you something, dummy."
Right.
So,
Tory, I'll tell you something real quick that this is probably the most... See, the whole paranormal thing don't scare me.
No.
But, you know, for example, if you walk into a room and you don't expect someone to be there and you kind of like get startled. We got, many years ago, we got called to investigate a farm that had no working electricity, okay? Which, from our standpoint, was great. I mean, it was cold, but we knew anything, you know, equipment-wise, we knew was going to be legit because there was no electricity. So it was myself and another investigator. This was pre-Paranormal Inc. days. Another investigator, and we had a reporter with us. And we were in the living room of this place. And the reporter was by the stairwell. And she said to me, "Hey, I feel something over my shoulder." I don't know. I think she said I feel really like a cold breeze. It's just lingering. So I took a digital picture, And sure enough, her right shoulder was completely blocked out by a black shadow. Okay?
That's crazy.
Now, I didn't want to startle her and tell her, so what I did was I walked over by her. The other investigator came around behind me. So I told him, I said, hey, watch, because it was really, really dark. I said, watch for the flash. I'm going to shoot a photo into the living room. Well, when my camera did a little beep, beep, and then the flash went off,
Right.
Tory, there was a man standing in the living room staring at us.
Oh, man.
He was behind, they had like a TV stand in the middle of the floor and a big screen on it. So I caught from like lower or like upper abdomen area up.
Uh-huh.
And when that flash went off, I seen that man standing there looking at me. And I tell you what, it felt like everything inside me just drained. You know what I mean? It was absolutely crazy. And I guess they noticed, my change in behavior. So the reporter said, what did you see? She goes, because I saw it. Well, I didn't answer her, but I asked her what she saw. Now, she saw a red flash, like in the same spot. So the person that showed himself, I saw it differently than she did. But anyway, that was probably the most terrifying, is when I saw a man like 15 feet in front of me staring at me.
Oh, wow.
It is very scary.
And the sad thing
It's
is,
terrifying.
he didn't appear on the picture, though. It was kind of like for my eyes only type deal. You know what I mean?
That's cool, though. That is cool.
Yeah, and I always wonder about that. Like in that home, I was the only person that ever experienced anything in that home. Nobody else that they said ever happened to anybody else in my family. Mm-hmm. Now, I grew up in the 80s. That kind of shows my age a little bit. But back then,
Tori, I know.
That was things.
Tori, I know how old you are, Tori. I won't say nothing, but I just want you to know that I know.
Old enough to know better, but too young to care.
Exactly. But, people didn't talk about things like that back then.
Right.
And I would talk about my house to, like, friends and things like that. And, they're like, oh, okay. They didn't really know how to respond. And I think a lot of people just took it as disbelief. Like, fear does play a factor in that. Like, I couldn't tell you how tall this shadow man was. I was 10 years old, so likely it was a lot bigger than what it really was.
Right.
I would imagine.
Right.
And two, like, you're so scared that, like, I didn't pay attention to things like that. The only thing that I wanted to do was get me some gone and, like, get out of there. Like, that was my only goal.
How old were you when you moved out of that house?
When I moved into the house, I was probably about 5. Like, 5 to 16 was about the time that I lived in that house.
Oh, okay, till you were 16. Now, do you feel the activity in that house? I mean, did it stay there, or is it something that?
It did.
Okay, all right.
It did. It stayed there the entire time that I was there. Now, here's the odd part about the whole thing, and kind of like it kind of makes my brain wonder.
Uh-huh.
The people that bought that house from my parents, the woman that lived there died about 2 years ago in that house. She was only 40 years old, and she died from a rare, aggressive form of bone cancer.
Wow.
I would like to think that's not related.
Right.
But a part of you can't help but wonder, because it was so active all the time. I mean, my name was being called. I saw shadows. That is the only time that I saw a shadow person, was that one time. I never saw it again after that.
So when you saw it was standing stationary. It wasn't moving?
Yes. Yeah, nope. It was standing stationary, and it was almost like a statue, and the lines of it wasn't fuzzy, it wasn't faded, it was pitch black with clear, concise lines. Like I said, it was like a cookie cutter just stamped out of the landscape in the shape of a human that was not happy.
Wow. That's
Yes.
How tall how tall was it?
I was only 10, so I don't really know. If I had to guess, probably about 6.5 feet, maybe.
Right.
Somewhere around in there. That's pulling from a long time ago.
What
I
are...
remember sitting outside in the dark, feeling safer outside in the dark by myself than I did in my own home.
Right.
And that is
Oh,
why
wow.
the Paranormal Help Desk exists.
Now,
Nice.
what do you think is I mean, this is a real broad question, but as far as the contacts that come through the help desk, what is like your most memorable or most outrageous or whatever story that come through?
Well, I always take what people say seriously. I try to understand where they're coming from. One of the most memorable ones was somebody contacted me and told me that they had a vampire following them around.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't. I mean, it's not. It is funny, but it's not funny kind of thing. Because I mean, who knows what was really happening and what their perceptions are? Because really, when we're talking about paranormal experiences, we can only draw off of our own perceptions. Like, what are we perceiving it to be, and then can we convey that in a meaningful way to somebody else?
Right.
I mean, it's all about in how we perceive the story that's being told to us.
Yeah, and see, like I said, I think I spoke to you the other night about it when we were doing like a pre-interview, but and I've said it on our show before. You know, if you're a person that's, I mean, we're all skeptical, but if you're a person that honestly, I mean, we're skeptical in the way we believe in the paranormal, but we're skeptical about evidence. Where when you have a person that's skeptical about the paranormal itself and they're not sure if they believe or not, if they've lived most of their life, have never experienced anything, and then happen to have an experience, their first instinct is, oh my gosh, it's out to get me. You know, it shut a silverware drawer when I turned my back, and I'm the only one in the house, so obviously it's out to kill me. You know, so people that don't, you know, really not sure if they believe in this or not, or haven't experienced anything, or researched it or investigated, I mean, their instinct is fear. You know, and you're absolutely right. Everybody perceives things differently. You know, for like when we, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tori.
No, I was going to say 9 times out of 10 when I get contacted, the first words out of their mouth is, I think it's demonic.
Right, exactly,
and,
exactly.
You know, we have a conversation, we have a discussion. I'm like, okay, well, tell me about your experiences, what's happening, and I ask, like, they probably think that I'm insane for the amount of questions that I ask, but I have to get a good feel of what's going on. Where it's like, what am I going to tell this team when they take this case? Because I want them to go in it with as much knowledge as possible, not only just for what kind of things to look for, but for safety too. Because I mean, if a team is really going in on a demonic haunting, they need to know that. They need to be safe as well.
Right.
And anyway, so we have this conversation, and probably 8 times out of 10, I say, well, if this ghost was an asshole when he was alive, he's probably going to be an asshole now. I mean, just because they're doing crappy things doesn't mean that it's demonic at all.
Right.
And so you have to take into consideration, you know, like we touch on in one of our seminars, if, say we're holding an event for the public to come and investigate, and there's claims that there may be children, spirits, or children haunting this location, you have to keep in mind that, you know, that child is going to get your attention the way a child would. You know, so if you have a 5-year-old, you know, if you're sitting there talking to an adult and a 5-year-old's trying to get your attention, how are they going to get your attention? They're going to poke you. They're going to pull on your pants leg. They're, you know, even a smaller child might tug on your hair. And people perceive that as aggression when actually it's just the only way that certain spirit knows how to get your attention or communicate with you.
Right. And fear amplifies that. When you're scared and somebody has something like that happen to them, it's, oh gosh, it tried to pinch me. No, it was just kind of pulling on your shirt a little bit, maybe. You know what I mean? It's still scary. It'd be scary for me. I ain't gonna lie. That would scare me, because I'm not, I get pretty spooky about things sometimes.
Right.
For sure.
Now, I mean, when you are on an investigation and something does touch you, it is kind of unnerving the first few times.
I bet.
You know, but you know, I mean, it didn't scare me. It surprised me because a few years ago when we were doing World's Largest Ghost Hunt, I kept feeling something keep touching me. And it wasn't Dave, for a change. Dave, you need to keep your 6 feet the hell away from me, man.
6 feet.
And but anyhow, I had this really weird sensation, like on my side. And when they radioed up and said, "Can you have Ernie pull his shirt up?" And when I did, I was all marked up, right on the side of my stomach. And that was the first time and last time that I've ever been touched where it left a mark. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of scary. But what I just, explained to you was we was in an area where a lot of children, when they were living, they went there to play. So, I just wrote it off as we weren't paying attention to the kids and they wanted my attention. So they scratched me or whatever it was. I can't necessarily say it was a scratch, but, it was more irritating feeling than anything.
I've actually never really been on any kind of formal investigation ever.
Really?
I have been to events. Well, I say events. An event. I went to Malvern Manor in December of last year, I think. It was like a Friday the 13th event thing, and I mean, it was pretty cool. But there was a lot of people there, and I mean, it was different. I'm sure it's different than actually going with the team.
Right.
Gary, the founder of Shadow Encounters, he did invite me to go on an investigation of a location that he hasn't revealed yet, so I can't divulge that. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm ecstatic that he asked me, so I'll let you know how that goes.
Well, Dave and I will open up an open invitation to you. Anything, if you happen to be close or we happen to be close to you, anything at all that you see we're involved in or whatever the case may be, you're always welcome to join us. All you have to do is call me.
I will probably take you up on that.
We will definitely get you on.
Definitely
get you on an investigation. But isn't it, Dave and I, back in September, isn't it cool investigating on Friday the 13th?
Oh, it was.
Because we had, check this out, Tori. We had, for those of you that saw Ink Master or been to any of the big paranormal events, you know Tony DeVille. And Tony DeVille, very good friend of Dave and I, he contacted us and said, will you investigate my tattoo parlor? Right.
We're like,
Absolutely. So
why not?
He sets it up for Friday the 13th. Okay. So I knew that Pam and Steve Barry had already investigated there years ago. So of course I have to reach out to Pam. And she said, let me tell you something.
She's watching, by the way.
What's up, Pam? Pam told me that that's one of the most active places they've ever been to. So we did a very brief, it was like a 90-minute investigation on Friday the 13th in September. And let me tell you, Tori, from beginning to end, that place was non-stop.
Yep.
And to commemorate it, Tony gave us a Friday the 13th tattoo.
Yeah, he got his here, I got mine here on the back of my neck.
Yeah, but it was all Friday the 13th. And that's true what they say about that, because even at work, man, I mean to tell you, when it's Friday the 13th, and God forbid if it's a full moon, I mean the freaks come out.
All the freaks come out at night.
Yeah, there was no tattoos at Malvern Manor. That would have been cool, though.
Right.
I mean, it was a good experience. There was a lot of people there, and a lot of people came out of there with a lot of good evidence. I don't know if anybody that's listening has ever been there, but it's actually pretty cool.
Dave and I haven't been there, but we know a lot of people that have been there. Yeah. Somebody, Dave, one of our famous friends was just there recently before all this madness broke out. There was some sort of an event there. And for the life of me, I can't. I mean, you know how it is, Tori, with all the social media and phone calls and emails. And
things blend.
It's hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah, and now that we're all quarantined, I forget what day it is, man.
No, today's Sunday. No, we're doing a broadcast. It's Sunday.
I know it's Saturday. I know it's
Saturday
because I go back to work tomorrow and then I'm off Monday and Tuesday.
I'm losing track of days for
I
you.
know but like I said earlier, man, the good thing is I'm getting a lot done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, we definitely, Tori, will get you out on an investigation.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
And
a lot of fun.
It's awesome what you do because Dave just we had a case come in that we can't get to because of this whole, quarantine thing.
Up in Pennsylvania.
Right.
So we turned it over to another team, Keystone State Paranormal.
Yeah.
That are best buddies of ours.
This lady, I mean, basically...
Talk to her. Keep going. I got to take a quick
pause for the cause. Oh, God. So basically what happened was this lady calls one of our friends up. She passed it to us because it was beyond her. And so I started talking to this lady. And the first thing I started doing is, doing my homework as a police officer. Have you taken illicit drugs? Are you, with a therapist? Are you, currently under,
I asked all the same
And
questions.
she actually answered yes to some of this. So I'm like, have you ever played with a Ouija board? Have you ever been into the occult? And the thing what I was looking for is not necessarily that she had done it, but I wanted a true to God answer. And she was giving me true to God answers like, what she had done here and there. So I said, okay, fine. So I said, now what's going on to your house? And she pretty much tells me that her daughter had something going on, and she went over to her daughter's house to kind of talk to her about it. Curtains are moving, things are moving in the house, weird things going on. And she goes home that evening, and a couple days later, her daughter calls her up and says, everything stopped. I don't know what you did. And I said, yeah, I think I brought it home because everything started up in her house. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And to the point of, she actually told me, it was either yesterday or today, that she's smelling sulfur in the house. Things are getting very, very violent in the house, and I can't get up there to help her at this point. So we've reached out to several of our friends that we know that can help, including Keystone State, who is closer than we are, and maybe possibly without crossing state lines can get there. We're really hoping they can get up there sooner than later and help her out. But she's like, I'll smooth off the couch. I'll walk into the bathroom. I'll come back and it looks like somebody sat on my couch. She's telling us about all this touching that's going on, things like that. So, because we can't get out, I had to find somebody to help her. Welcome back, Ernie.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's saying, wee!
But yeah,
I also work I also serve as a resource for paranormal teams. I actually had, I was referred by another person for a paranormal team lead out of Texas. They were working on a demonic case, or what they believed to be a demonic case, and we talked about all the same things that, I was asking them questions, and I mean, it legit sounds like maybe perhaps he is dealing with a demonic case. I mean, from what he told me, but he was like, I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm in over my head, and I don't know,
right.
I don't know how to fix this. So then for like 12 hours straight, I'm looking up resources. I'm trying to find like what is the best avenue to take with something like this? Are you talking to like Reiki masters or somebody, a clergyman or a medium? Who are we going to consult for this kind of deal? And I ended up finding one of each and sent them all his way. So they're all kind of working together trying to get this resolved. Or at least I hope they get it resolved.
Dave and I had a case about a year and a half ago where this man got in touch with us, and he thought something evil, possibly demonic, was in his house. And long story short, there was nothing. I mean, because we consulted with one of our demonologist friends, and he was basically on standby in case we need him. And
this guy was showing us scratches on mirrors. He was showing us burn marks on cables. He was holy water that got black.
He was sending us evidence. Dave and I thought something wasn't right because just through pictures we were starting to debunk stuff.
Yep.
But anyway, it was our job to go there and figure this out. And come to find out, his house was actually
Haunted.
active, right? But what it was is his roommate was trying to get rid of him.
Yep. And
So
to
she
scare
was
him
trying
out.
to scare him. But then on the paranormal side of it, the former owner of the house,
Which we came up with the former owner's name during an EVP session.
without seeing
Without knowing who he was.
right. And anyhow, what the conclusion we came to is that the former owner of the house was trying to warn him and watch over him about the roommate.
Wow, talk about the trifecta.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Dave, a few months later, I don't remember how many
Yeah,
months.
I called up the guy and I'm like, hey, just checking in on you. What's going on?
Right.
He's like, it all stopped. I went, it all stopped? What happened? He goes, I threw the boop out. He threw her out.
But you know what was funny? And it just goes to show you how things can take a turn.
And it shows you that paranormal activity is not always a bad thing.
Right. I
Right.
mean, what got us was when we actually got this name and it came across as an EVP through our spirit box. And the guy almost turned white as a sheet, jumps up, runs out of the room, and we're like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
He goes and gets the deed from the previous property owner when he bought it. And he goes, this is the guy that used to own it that died here.
Yeah. And the funny thing is the name we got was a first and last
Yep.
name. It wasn't just
Just
like
his name.
Yeah.
Right. It was first and last.
But the funny thing is that I don't know if you've seen the show, Tory, Ghosts of Shepherdstown, but
I have not.
Mike King from that show, he travels with us and does seminars and he investigates now with us and all that good stuff. And Mike was scheduled to go with us on this case. Well, I forget what emergency
Right.
something happened and Mike couldn't go with us.
And Desmond was supposed to go.
Right. So they couldn't go with us. And now you got Mike King and then Mike's stepson Desmond. And we were doing a spirit box session, and we asked a question and it said, Where's Mike? And we're like, Where's
What?
Mike? Mike who? And it says, Mike King.
And we were asking, and then it goes, well, no, we said, which Mike? Which Mike are you talking about? And he goes, he's at Desmond's house.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa!
Yeah, but it goes to show you that how things can change
Yep.
on you. And that happened.
Yeah.
That happened when Mike and his wife Dreama. We were supposed to be in an event today, Tory, in our home state that of course got postponed. But the place we were supposed to be at today for the paranormal event, we actually investigated, and Mike and his wife was there, and we're trying to make contact with whom we think may be haunting the place because it's a museum and all that stuff.
And it's a police and fire museum, so there's.
But the case actually took a personal turn and started attacking Mike's wife.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it's just crazy how you think you're contacting a certain whatever, and it has nothing to do with the
you.
location that you're at. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
you never really know what's going to get thrown at you.
Yeah.
And I think that really you never really know who you're talking to. It's kind of like the internet.
And see,
Well, yeah.
They can be whoever they want to be.
I 100% because that is, and I can't stress this enough. I mean, no one is a expert in this field because no one has, really proven anything, so to speak. Now,
Right.
I think a lot of teams, especially people that need legitimate help, that really have stuff going on, and they contact this team that did a marathon watch of Ghost Adventures since they've been quarantined. So now they're professionals. And I think that if you get there and you don't know what you're doing, you can invite a lot of stuff in, and that
Don't sage the house. All sage does is a cleansing agent, but if you don't know how to use it, you're gonna make it worse.
right. And the thing is that if there's something that wants into your house that's evil,
Yeah, it's coming in.
it's going to get there, but it's not going to present itself as, hello, I'm Satan. Can I come in? They're going to pose as that child. They might pose as your mom or whomever. You know what I mean? And they want that invite. That's why you got to really be careful and, well, you know how that goes.
Yep.
It's it's odd that you say that, because the house that I grew up in, every time that I heard my name, it was in the voice of my mother.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now that, I mean, don't be like freaked out. I mean, not just you, Tori, but anyone listening. Don't be freaked out at what I just said, because it can legitimately be your mom or your dad or your granddad, whomever. You know what I mean? But what I was saying is that's just one of the ways that something evil can present themselves to be invited. You know, like there was, let me think. I think it is, because I'm halfway through writing a book. I think it's chapter 2 of my book. I went on a little thing about how my mom was hearing someone call her. When she would go to bed at night, she would hear what she believed was her uncle. And she would hear his voice coming through the window. And the reason she suspected being her uncle was because growing up, he had a nickname for her. And that's the name she was hearing. You know what I mean? And I go further into it. I don't want to bore you guys with all that. But, I mean, it can, I've heard several times I've been home.
Speaking of the devil, Tony DeVille just popped in.
Tony,
hey, brother,
what's up, man?
Go back in the video.
Go back about 10 minutes,
We were talking about you.
But there's been many times where I've been in the basement just folding laundry or standing in the kitchen doing dishes, and literally I've heard a male voice call my name and a female. Right. And it is kind of unnerving, because you really do think someone's there,
Oh, I know.
It is. Yeah.
But, Tori, before I forget, for those watching, tell them how they can get in touch with you if they do need help.
You can actually message my personal profile, or you can add me as a friend at Tory Smith, or you can go to www.facebook.com/The Paranormal Help Desk, and that is my website. You can also look on the group, the Paranormal United Network, and you can just put that in your little search bar, and it should pop up. I mean, you can reach me at any of those places. So.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty good at, answering messages in a pretty timely fashion. I am a night shifter, so if I don't answer right away, it's probably because I'm sleeping, but I do get back to people pretty much the same day. So.
The night shift. Well, you don't want to tell me about the night shift. Like when people come into 7-Eleven at 3 in the morning and I'm eating nachos and they're like, it's 3 in the morning. How can I'm like, dude, this is 3 in the afternoon to me. Mind your business.
Yep.
You know what I mean? How long you been on night shift, Tori?
5 years. For 17 years I worked on an ambulance, and I worked 24-hour shifts with 48 off. And now I'm an ER nurse, and I work 12-hour night shifts.
God bless you.
Wow. Yeah, them 12 hours. I
got paranormal stories for days.
Yeah, I've been on 12-hour shifts for 17 years. And it's just, the older you get, the harder it gets.
Night shift just falls in line. I mean, it just, like, you don't have to deal with administration.
Yes.
That's like number one. You don't have to deal with them.
That was, that was my, I hope nobody's watching this, but that was because I tell you what, I hate night work. And when I got the choice to go night work, day work, or rotate, I chose night work, which no one I work with thought I would. But when we go to work, we're the only ones there. You know what I mean? There's no big brass there. There's no, and it's different world out here at night. I guess I function better at night. Which helps with the paranormal career, because I know some investigators that, they're up at 4 a.m. and in bed at 8 p.m. and then they're out on an investigation, and halfway through they're like, oh my gosh, I need a 5-hour energy. I can't stay awake,
Yeah.
Tori, if you had the choice to, or the option to investigate anywhere you want, where would you investigate?
Oh, I thought about this quite a bit. I was thinking about, I just had this discussion with Gary from Shadow Encounters, actually. I forget the name. It was brought up in an episode of G Crew, which is like the new Patreon page for Nick Groff, who is it? Chad Lindbergh, Josh Hurd, and Johnny Hauser, and they do like all these interviews. Anyway, they were talking about that island in Italy that had like all the plague victims that were out there.
Right.
I know exactly. What is it called? I can't remember.
It is.
I need to break in for a second. I got a message from Gary Blankenship. He said, "Thank you, Tory, for your dedication, service. I'm with what's going on in the world now, but it's even more proof that how admirable your chosen profession. I think is. I think you stay one love." Okay, Gary, I know what you meant, but dude, learn to type.
Gary, Gary and I went to school together, so I had that same problem.
Yeah, reading is fun for mental. Yeah.
I appreciate it a lot.
Oh my goodness, my friend Gary. I met Gary when I was 17, and we're in our 50s now. So
he's your ride or die.
Yeah, man. But we'll start a whole new podcast about the trouble me and Gary used to get in.
I'm sure it would be interesting. I bet it would go for years.
Oh,
like,
my goodness.
Seasons and stuff.
I would never incriminate myself. But I know where you're talking about, Tory, but I can't think of I know exactly where you're talking about. I can't think of the name. I really can't think of the name.
With a P.
I
can't.
Penhurst?
Oh, no, man. It's,
But they were talking about that, and like he was talking about some experiences on
right.
the.
Isn't that like Pregolia or Pregalia?
Yes.
Something along those. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, they were talking about that on like one of their episodes
right.
on their Patreon page, and I was like, man, that would be terrifying.
Right.
Like,
a few months ago, Tory, I had to go to this training class. And it was basically just for the hours because we have to accumulate so many recertification hours. So I had to go to this training class, and it was at the Maryland State Police Barracks. So of course I get there a little bit early, and the very next building over from where I was going is. Do you remember? Because you mentioned Chad. Chad had the show Ghost Stalkers in 2014.
Yes.
It was the second episode that him and John was at the Springfield Hospital. That was right next door to the barracks where I was training for those few days. So
Oh wow.
Yeah, during.
You had to go check her out.
Yeah, during lunch I was out there taking photos and.
I've been trying to get into Crownsville for so long.
All they got to do is talk to you. They'll accept you. Crownsville is a mental hospital, Tory.
Yeah, thing is, they're closed. I want to get in there to investigate.
Oh, I thought you wanted to take up residency. Hey, Tory, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I can't thank you enough for spending an hour with us, and sorry about the hiccup in the beginning of the.
Oh, no problem. It wouldn't be me if there wasn't a hiccup.
Yeah.
See that now?
Facebook made a change in their interface, and this is the first time I'm using it. Plus, to make it worse, we've changed our sound settings because we're going to try a new software next week. So I'm preparing for it. So the sound settings work great, but Facebook added an extra button that I missed in the beginning. Oops.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It was no big deal. Plus, I got to change a few things anyway and say it better. So
nice.
It worked out for me anyway.
You did great.
Well, thank you for your time and joining us this weekend. And we hope you have a blessed day, and thank you for all you do for us.
Yeah, thank you,
thank you,
Tory.
guys.
I know how scary it is for you guys in the medical profession, and please, whatever you do, I know you are, but please be safe. And,
I will. You too. You guys be careful and stay healthy.
And thank you again for taking an hour out of your
welcome.
Saturday.
It was fun.
And on that note, if anything that we can help you with or whatever, you know our numbers, you know how to get in touch with us, and
Absolutely.
If we have
and
any,
vice versa.
yes, any concerns come our way, we will definitely dump them on your lap.
Yep.
So.
Awesome. I love concerns.
Well, Tori, you have a great rest of your weekend, okay? And you're
All right.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome back on our show anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a good weekend.
All right,
Have a
see
great
you,
one.
Tori. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, on a final note, just please stay safe. For all those first responders out there and all the medical professionals and everybody keeping us safe and doing what they're doing, God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For those that have contracted it, my prayers go out to you. You know, putting yourself in the line of a bullet is hard to do, you know?
Man.
So God bless you.
Just stay safe and take every precaution that you can. And, you know, like I posted on our page the other night, just, you know, now that we're all stuck in the house or whatever, check on your loved ones, check on your friends, your neighbors. They may need something. You know, it might not be much. And if there's anything that Dave and I can help you with, feel free to contact us.
Amen.
So,
All right, with that, guys, we're going to say love you, miss you, mean it.
happy birthday, Cindy.
Love you, bud.
See you guys soon.
Peace.
Good night.